Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So this is out of the dispute, and it's regarded as the whole incident was a domestic violence situation. And so there is a police officer that actually reported on this, and I was looking at it, and they had a press conference over it. And so this is September AFP September 13th, mass shooting in California tied to domestic dispute. And so it goes on that was the scene of the third shooting that eventually resulted in the death of 6 people in Bakersfield, California. So Bakersfield, United States, of course, California. A man who killed 5 people, including his wife, in California before taking his own life, had been in the midst of a contentious divorce, authorities said on Thursday. It appears that the suspect targeted each of the victims. Kern County Sheriff Donnie Youngblood told a news conference. Shooter, identified as Xavier Cesar, 54 years of age, was in a divorce proceeding with his wife, had recently filed legal papers related to child support and property. And so the tragedy unfolded after Cesar arrived at a trucking company in the southeast Bakersfield at around 5:18 p.m., accompanied by his wife, Petra Cesar Youngblood, said. The couple confronted a man at a business. Xavier Cesar shot the man and then returned the gunfire on his wife and shot her. And then he chased another man and gunned him down as well, Youngblood said. And so Cesar then went to a house where he had shot a 31-year-old woman and her father. Youngblood said also that Cesar carjacked a vehicle with a woman and a child inside of it and then let them go, telling the woman that he was not the bad guy, or he is not a bad guy, rather, before driving off. And so he killed himself after he pulled into a business and he was confronted by the police. Okay. Wow, this is very traumatic. So this police, he, I guess, released the body cam footage of the suicide from the officer at the scene. Youngblood said Cesar told the officer that he didn't want to live before shooting himself in the stomach with a Smith & Wesson handgun. So it is yet unclear how the victim are connected, or the victims are connected to Cesar's situation, authorities said. So the mass shooting is the third deadliest shooting event in the U.S. this year after the shooting of the Parkland, Florida incident in February that left 17 people dead and one at the school in Santa Fe, Texas in May that left 10 people dead, according to the data for the Gun Violence Archive. And so that's pretty much a condensed version of this incident. And so I just was viewing the press conference where the officer in Kern County had pretty much spoken out about the incident. And so it's just unfortunate. What I brought this out for is that I feel like people say a lot of things about women, people who say things about men, or people who say all this stuff that's great about relationships and marriage and whatnot. Or they'll say, oh, they divorced, they parted their ways. And so I've heard some things about some nasty divorces that have happened, even in the celebrity world, um, that, people will try to also mask some of the things that have happened in their relationships to try to bring light to all of the positivity because they're hiding what really wasn't going well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Sally Fields, I know you think, what is. And so Sally Fields brought up some information about Burt Reynolds and what kind of uh, when she was involved with him. She mentioned that he was very controlling and that he would take these injection shots and that he had some issues, and that she felt that it was pretty, how would you say, that relationship with him was, he was very controlling, and that she had had some issues, some things that happened in her life, and that relationship, having a relationship with him. And it didn't seem like it was positive. But the truth didn't come out until like after, now that he's, he's deceased. And, now that time has passed and he's not the big figure as he was, I remember in the 80s, he seemed like he was much bigger then, but maybe people remember him even further back then, you know. So anyway, it's just funny how, like, when after a divorce happens or a split with couples, that the actual truth comes out about how these people really were. Because while they're with them, you see all this, all this talk about how lovely the relationship was and how great things are, and how marriage is great. And then once these people divorce, then you find out how, these people got all kinds of issues and things you wouldn't believe. And so these are not famous people, but domestic violence happens everywhere in every culture. It can happen to anyone. And so I just thought this is just but one of many examples to how you don't know who you're with and what their temperament is and how they can fly off the handle. I've been in some shelters where I worked with people who were domestic violence survivors. And some of the stories, some of the things that they went through, some of them were so afraid they didn't even want to go anywhere because the person had so much control over their life that they were afraid to even go to the post office. They wouldn't take their kids out anywhere. They were afraid their kids were going to get snatched from them. It was miserable. And I said, I'm not that unhappy about being a single person, because when I hear about all these stories, it isn't all what it's cracked. Marriage relationship is not, it's a team effort. It isn't a one-sided thing. And I feel like people think that, one person's supposed to do all the work. I think it depends on both individuals, and mental health is important in these relationships. If people are not mentally stable, they shouldn't even be in a relationship. And so, anyway, I'm going to leave this video with that. And so I'm not going to say too much on it because I know people have their difference of opinions or whatever, but I feel personally that it takes two people if they want to make something work. But it can't be one-sided. It can't be a one-way situation. It's a two-way street, that it has to be both that have to be involved, 50-50, as they say, or 100. But, a lot of these relationships, it's just one person doing everything. One person is working, one person is bringing, one person is the one that's in love. The other one is just there. You can be in a relationship and be lonely. Believe it or not, people don't understand this. You can be with someone and be so alone with that person. I don't know if people hear me on this one. You can be married with someone and be living like you're living the single life. You're not feeling loved. You're not being supported. You're not being, treated as if you're in that relationship. You're just there. Some people don't realize this, but not all these relationships are what you think they are. But this was a traumatic turn of events. This right here, they're still investigating, all of the root causes of this, but they did say divorce proceedings were involved in child support as well. And we've heard the stories about child support out. That doesn't sit well with everyone. But I'm going to let this video go. But this is sad. It's unfortunate because a lot of lives were lost in the event of this. And so that's what I'm saying. Domestic violence is real. It can also evolve outside of the relationships to the in-laws, the friends who are involved with this couple. And so say like if there are other people that are involved in a relationship, like if they're the in-laws or they're involved with the family, some kind of way they're close to the family, then they could also become victims, believe it or not. Sometimes relationships will end because of sister-in-law, brother-in-law, in-law, mother, grandpa, father, whatever, in-law, so sometimes it's not just within those two people. It could be outside. It could be family members. It could be, friends. It could be something else that's going on. It could be, money can split people up. It's not just, somebody being cheated on. Sometimes the main thing, some people get cheated on and they think that's the main, there could be a lot of other reasons. It could be money involved. There could be somebody could be spending too much money. Somebody could have like family members that are just people that they're don't want to deal with anymore. And so those could be reasons for divorce as well. They're grounds for divorce, because when you divorce that individual, you divorce all those family members that you don't get along with as well. You cut your ties with them. And so there's a lot involved in it. Boy, I've seen a lot and heard a lot. But anyway, I'm going to let this video go. What are your thoughts and your feedback on this? This is a horrific situation. It's really sad because a lot of lives were lost in this. And there's probably a lot more developing on this story. It's a developing story, I would say. But domestic violence is real. I think people should take note of it. It is a serious problem here. And it's all over. It's not just in America. So anyway, I'm going to let this go. So have a great weekend. Thank you.